Hi, this is Pastor Ken from Vineyard of Hope in Osawatomie, Kansas. My prayer for you today is that God would touch your heart in a real and tangible way for a breakthrough in your life as you hear this message. Thank you for watching, and I want to give you a personal invitation to come and see what we're all about. The church information is at the end of this video. Now I hope you enjoy this message. God bless.
Who knows God's timing is impeccable? You guys have heard overcoming fear. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about courage. I titled this Courage Under Fire. So I'm going to tell you a little story. So in the year 1942, let's put this in perspective into your life, okay? So the year is 1942, and you're in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's your hometown. You grew up there. You know the town people. You know the local shops. You have all your friends and all the people around you. Your father's a carpenter. Your mom is a homemaker, and she works at the shoe factory. You have a younger brother and an older sister, and your family attends a local church consistently. So let's get to the backstory on you. You're a young man, tall, handsome. During high school years, you found a job at a local lumber yard. You had to grow rapidly to support your parents and siblings. Through your late high school years, you find a different job, a great job working for the local shipyard. You're a joiner and welder, and you're just in your late teens. So you're doing great for yourself, right? Yourself, your family's well taken care of. Everything's great, all right? December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor is attacked. There's a call out to join, and even a draft that you're going to be pulled to deploy. So think about this right here. There's a war, and you have no choice, but you know you're going. You're going to fight willingly, or you're voluntold. Or as that's what we call it, voluntold is where your boss is saying you're going no matter what. So there's no way out, right? Now we all know that many went, and even more dodged the draft. But it's not your style. You see your friends, even family, sign up to defend our country. You go to work one day, you're given a deferment because of your job. You're good, right? So think about that. There's a war going on in a foreign land. You have a choice to go, or you use your deferment and make a decent living and not even have to worry about the war. So let's go to statistics. In World War II, the estimated deaths are 50 to 85 million people. Now, out of those numbers, 16 million were military. So the odds of you dying in a land you've never been to, in a foreign land, are very high. But you decide to go and sign up. You volunteer. So courage is something that I believe God gives you as a gift, but also gives you to stretch yourself in order to grow. So radical faithfulness to me is courage. It's courage to live a life for God with God. It takes courage to stand before people and say, hey man, would you like to come to church tonight? Or hey, I'm preaching, you want to show up? Or hey man, can I pray with you? Right? It takes courage. In Matthew 14:22-32 is a story about Jesus walking on water after sending his disciples across the lake. Now in this passage, I want to focus on 27-31. In 27, it says, but Jesus spoke to them at once. Don't be afraid. He's talking to his disciples in the boat. He also says to take courage. I am here. And Peter called out to him, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come walking on the water. In 27, there are two things that stand out to me. One is that there's fear, right? Or else Jesus wouldn't say, don't be afraid. So, who remembers when Pastor Darren came? He talked about fear not. Fear not's throughout the Bible. And there's a bunch of times where it states, fear not, for the Lord's with you. The second thing is, Jesus tells them to take courage. So what is courage? So in the thesaurus under courage, you will find synonyms, such as bravery, valor, daring, guts. Think of that. To take courage, you are pushing past fear and reacting. In the military, we would drill this. We would drill ourselves continuously, train in order to manipulate our bodies, our mind, into reacting a certain way. So if we are to react to fear or obstacles, spiritual obstacles, we need to practice. We have to drill our heart. We have to drill our mind. So how do we do that? Anyone ever hear the saying, we are what we eat? Or you get what you put into it? Well, that is exactly what you have to do. We have to look at what we put in. If you put devotions, studying the Bible, you become teachable, coming to church, and even being faithful to the Lord, you're going to reap a blessing. But if you're not showing up, not being faithful, not being lovely towards people, who always knows that grumpy person? It happens, right? So I'm walking down the street. I see someone staring at me, just out of the blue. Not giving me a face or anything, just staring at me. What is my first thought? My first thought is, what's he want? Or who's coming at me? Or what's this guy's problem? If he's just staring at me, not saying anything. But if you see someone smiling and looking at you, you can tell a difference. You can tell their perspective at that time. So we have to wise up, like study. We have to gain wisdom, right? So who knows what Proverbs means? I had to look it up, but it means a piece of advice or a general truth. So in Proverbs 2:2, it says to tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding, right? Matthew 11:15 also says, anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. In the dictionary, courage is defined as two things. The ability to do something that frightens one. But my favorite one is, it's a mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. So look at the definition. I'm a logical guy, so I like seeing all definitions and kind of dissecting it, right? It's a mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand. So how I rephrase this is, it's a spiritual battle that God gives you the ability to overcome if you will believe in Him. So in Matthew 14:29, Jesus says, yes, come. And Peter went over to the side of the boat and walked on the water toward Jesus. 30 says, but when he saw the strong winds and waves, he was terrified and began to sink. Save me, Lord, he shouted. Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. You have so little faith, Jesus said. Why did you doubt me? So when Jesus said take courage, he meant don't be afraid, right? He also said don't be afraid. That tells me there's a test. Courage takes two things, something that scares you and the ability to overcome it. Courage is a breakthrough in its own. It's the fight or flight reaction to your test. It takes courage to be a breakthrough. And breakthrough is defined in I've got three definitions for breakthrough. One, in warfare, it's called an offensive military assault that penetrates and carries beyond a defensive line. Or it's also an act or instance of moving through or beyond obstacles. A sudden advance, especially in knowledge or technique. All right, that's breakthrough. So it takes courage to be a breakthrough. What do I mean by that? In order for you to break through, you have a decision to make. Your decision determines your outcome. So you can stay at the same level of comfort. Or if you have the courage, you can move to another level of spiritual growth. So in the military, when you go to basic, there's 3 phases, we call it. Your average basic is 3 phases. A red phase, white phase, a blue phase. Red phase is physical. They break down your mind while you're doing all your physical PT, and it's all getting you to grow together. You guys hit rock bottom, and they grow you guys together to work as a team. White phase is actual training, such as you're getting your weapons, you're learning how to use them, you're learning tactics. And then blue phase is where you're solidifying those tactics, you're getting the drills, you're knowing what you're doing, you react to anything that's happening. So let's go back to the training, or let's go back to the story. You're now in basic training, you made it past red phase, and you're about to get a weapon, all right? You hold your morals to your heart, you're devoted to God, and you hold Exodus 20:13 to heart. Thou shalt not kill. Now think about this. You have been yelled at, smacked around, beat up, and have broken your body in training with the men around you. You guys have become a brotherhood. My buddy here has my back. Another buddy has your back, right? Your instructor is standing in front of you and issues you a weapon. There's weapons in front of you, tells you go get it. Go grab one. So what do? It's also the weapon you're going to take to war with you. It's the weapon they want you to take and shoot someone. So in front of everyone that you've lived with for weeks, even months, you say no. What are their reactions? Because that gun's supposed to be in your hands. It's your tool to use to protect everybody around you. What is their reaction? They don't want to be next to you. They don't want to even think of you in their company. They think of you as a liability. They don't see you worthy of being with them to go take care of business. But you stuck to your belief, right? So because you stuck to your belief, you're facing a trial. So there's a possibility of a breakthrough. It might not feel that way, because let's be honest, in a trial, we feel like there's no way out. And it might not look that way. In the middle of the night, you're beat up. People hit you. During the day, everyone around you that you thought was your buddies takes their frustration out on you. They yell at you. They run into you on purpose, knock your stuff over. You're going through a trial, and this part reminds me of Galatians 6:9, which says, "So let's not get tired of doing what is right, or doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up." What I get from this is, if I am faithful, even through trial, as long as I continue on God's path, I will reap a great blessing. So let's fast forward a little bit. All right, you've gone through your training. You've continued to put God first. But the trial you face seems greater than you expect, right? You're headed to Japan now. You're going to go fight a war. You have no weapon. You're tall. I'm talking like 6'3", something I'm nowhere close. You're slender, and you decided that your job was to be the medic of the company. And when you get over there, you find out, oh, they put a bounty out for medics because you stand out. You have a red cross on your helmet. You have a red cross on your arm. So pretty much you stand ostracized from everyone in your company, but you're still keeping faith. You continue to stay faithful, and despite of your peers seeing it as a weakness or a vulnerability to their safety. You think for a second you're in a war with peers who don't want you there. Then the enemy is specifically looking just for you, right? Just because of that job. The odds are completely against you. This basically boils down to a David versus Goliath stronghold fight. You're standing faithfully, morally and spiritually up for God. This story that I've started is one of Desmond Doss. He had courage to stand on his beliefs. He had the courage to go to war with literally all the odds stacked against him. So what happened to him? Well, when he was in Japan, in Okinawa, he did something miraculous. During a raid on Hacksaw Ridge, his unit began to be overrun, which the army does not retreat. We bound back, right? So they bounded back down the cliffside. And mind you, Hacksaw Ridge was a huge cliff that we weren't supposed to be able to take. At that time, he was running back. Wounded soldiers who were left in the field started calling his name. Instead of going down the rope and leaving them while bombs rained over, he stayed. Matter of fact, he saved a lot of people. He stayed while there was bombs dropping on his head. He stayed and asked God, one more. That is the epitome of courage. After that day, his unit had no problems with him. They would not go into battle without him. He stood for God, and they knew it. This was a moment of courage for him to turn around, go back for his men. It was a defining moment of his career. Your testimony is the result of you having a trial. In order to break out, you have to break through. In order for your breakthrough, you have to have courage. But the rest of Desmond Doss, during his career, he received a lot of medals. He received Combat Medical Badge, the Medal of Honor, Bronze Star Medal, American Campaign Medal, Philippine Liberation Medal, Army Presidential Unit Citation, the Meritus Unit Commendation, World War II Victory Medal, Asian Pacific Campaign Medal, a Purple Heart, and Army Good Conduct Medal, and the 77th Infantry Division Medal. You know, for one guy who said, I don't want a weapon while I go to combat, he did a lot.